Hello and welcome to the Battle in Barrow and another building Middle Earth video, the series in which we build Middle Earth one video at a time. It's a nice bright autumnal day. I love autumn, so I thought I'd do a build sort of reminiscent of autumn. Now, today we are heading over to Rivendell, kind of. In the Rise of Angmar book, there is a scenario inside that is set on the outskirts of Rivendell. So I thought today we'd make a building sort of inspired by Rivendell buildings, a little house or something. So the first thing I want to do for this build is look for inspiration. So I had a look at some pictures and I found this on Etsy, this building here, and this is perfect. So I thought we'd build this. Hello, this is Kev editing from the future, or at least the future of recording this intro. It's still your past.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Yeah, okay, let's get on with it. So I'm editing and I procrastinate and watch YouTube videos, and I was watching a YouTube channel called Conquest Creations, and I noticed the house in one of their videos. So this house here, what we're talking about, I noticed in one of their videos, and I think that's where this house originates from. So they had a Kickstarter, which obviously I missed out on. Don't know when it was done. Oh, it's launching soon, it says. But anyway, and I think it's from there, so hopefully they won't mind. You can go to their shop and maybe buy these. This one's actually free, so if you've got a 3D printer, go and check those out. I'll put links in the description to this, the Kickstarter, and their channel. Hopefully they won't mind me scratch building one of their elven models, so a build inspired by their 3D printers. I don't have a 3D printer, so maybe I should get one to get these awesome stuff. But yeah, just want to sort of let you guys know that I think I found out where that picture that I have just linked to comes from. Doesn't look exactly the same as their one, so I don't know, but close enough. So I think that's where it originates from. So for now, let's get back to past Kev for me, and let's past Kev for you. A few years back, I had already made a Rivendell hall. I'll link the video here, and we can sort of use that as inspiration how I did the roof maybe, and make it look like it would fit in with that. What I might do though is in this video is add improvements to that hall, because I since then I've added lights to things, I've changed how I'm going to do things. I'm probably going to repaint it as well, because I've got an idea in mind for how I want it to look, very autumnal. I want that sort of red golden colours in this build, so I'll probably bring the Rivendell hall in line with that. As I said, I want to add lights to both builds, so I'm going to add a little LED to this build, so a little light inside, and go back and retroactively add lights to the Rivendell hall. Also, for this, I want to make it modular, so you can go inside, like my modular house build, so you'd lift the walls up and have the floor inside, so you can get inside, so use it for role playing as well as battle gaming. So let's gather supplies and start the build. First thing I'm going to do is just measure up. I'm going to make mine 3 inches wide. This is going to be like the front part of the house. I'm going to make it 3 inches wide. I'm just going to measure out a sort of 3-inch wide rectangle, and then I'm going to use these old windows left over from the church build as the door and window. So I'm just working out where higher this will be the door. And then from this I can work out how high the side's going to be. It's going to be 2 1/4. Using a Rivendell warrior model here just to make sure I'm happy with that scale. And then once I've got the apex height worked out, how high I want the central bit to be of the roof, I'm coming with a curved surface, in this case a protractor, and just sort of mark out these sort of gables using this. I want this roof to be curved, unlike sort of man structures that are very straight, so give it a nature feel. I'm going to take that MDF window for what I'm going to use for the door frame, just cut the middle part out. The other side, the back side, will just be a window, normal window. And looking at Rivendell, there's no glass, this sort of seems to be open, so going with that. Once that is cut out, I can trace around the inside, so this will tell me where I'm going to cut out what I've got to cut out. And so for cutting out, I'm going to use the guide to measure that 3 inch, so I've got a nice straight edge here before coming in freehand, cutting out that curved sort of apex gable roof thing. I don't know architectural details, as you can tell, but I'm going to carefully do this, taking my time so I don't get a nice clean cut. To cut out the door, what I do is I come in and just cut straight through the beginning part and then carefully cut around the door. And as I make my way back to the beginning, once I get back to the beginning, I just slowly pull the piece apart and just move my hot wire cutter through that gap now. And then that's the door cut out. And I'll do something similar for the window from the other side. What I'm doing here is I've made a third middle part that I'll use to help support the roof, and I've cut it out the same size as the 2 end pieces, but it needs to be not as wide because it's going to fit inside the piece, so it will sit slightly inside the side wall. So I just need to cut either side the width of some foam, and that's what I'm doing here. I'll take the two side pieces, the rectangle side pieces, and just measure 1/4 inch gaps and score some sort of heavy lines into this. These are going to be sort of wood plank textures for the walls. Once I've done that, I can come in with a sculpting tool to add some wood grain in. You can use a wire brush for this if you like, but this is how it looks like now. I can get on with gluing the walls. So I'm just going to use the glue gun just for speed, just to glue all the pieces together. So here I'm gluing a side wall to the front, and I'm just using something with right angles that I can use to help align it. And here I'm putting in that central piece that I mentioned earlier to help support the wall. It's a solid piece, and I'm hoping that doesn't come back to bite me in the bum later.
That's called foreshadowing.
And that's how it looks like when it's all glued together. I can now glue the door frame and the windows into place, because I've left the where I've cut them out, I've drawn around the inside and cut out the inside, so it's got a little bit of purchase that I can glue these on top of. So I'm going to glue the doors and windows in. I'm going to add some details to the walls. This is like the timbers you'd see in like a human building, but these are elvish, so if you look, they've got some more, they're more sort of intricate. So if you're thinking about a Tudor building, it's like the Elvis version. I'm just out of cereal box card, just working out that pattern using the protractor to help me with curves, and I'm going to sort of mark out the bits I want to cut out and not use, just so I don't get confused, because it's a very intricate piece. And I'm going to use that to trace, sort of add on to the sort of side bits of the wall, obviously here as the sort of beams. But before I stick it in place, once I've got it cut out, I can use that to trace around the back wall part, just so it saves time redrawing it. Any sort of normal timbers, if you like, are just going to be made from chipboard that I'm going to measure, cut out and texture and sort of glue into place. Over the door it has like a porchway bit, so I'm just going to make that out of some cereal box cover. Worked out sort of a rectangle shape that I want, the size of it, fold it in half, and then I can come in with a sort of pencil and mark out the sort of porch angle, if you like, how I want it to look like. Come in with some scissors and cut that out, and so then both sides will be cut out, and this can be glued into place. All bits of card like this also, I should point out, will get a sort of wood grain texturing applied. So anytime you see me do anything, it's going to have a wood grain texture applied. These are like side beams, again being elvish, they're more intricate than sort of human, so I'm working that out freehand, texturing them up, cutting them out, and again using these to trace around for the others, and then going around and adding in some extra details, extra sort of curved beams around the piece and gluing those in. And at that stage, this is how it all looks. I'm rather happy with it. It looks nice and intricate, and I'm hoping it looks good when it's painted up. The roof, I just glued a sheet of thin card into place. It was cut to size, folded in half, and then just glued into place. Shingles are made in much the same way as the Elven Hall, so it's a 1/2 inch divided into 2, so it's 1/4 inch. And on the bottom part, just offset it by 1/4 inch and then mark every 1/2 inch along. On the top, measure, just starting from the beginning, and measure 1/2 inch along, and then join those up like it, so you get a zigzag. And the bits I'm marking out here, sort of colouring in, and the bits you cut out. And boy, did that take forever. I'm going to have to come up with a better way for elvish roofs. Then it's a case of just gluing them into place and staggering them as you would a normal tile. So, you get a zigzag effect on each row. And this is what it looks like when it's done. Next, I'm going to add some detail to the roof. The top bit has a wooden beam. I've made this from foam. Those two end triangle bits I do away with in time, and that just gets glued into place. All this is again textured with a wood pattern. These sort of eaves, gable, I don't know what these bits are called, but they're made from chipboard, again textured up, and then some extra details added in with serial box card, just so it has a nice step effect with a sort of a middle beam running down the middle. And with that, the roof is done. So after the nightmare that was the roof, it's onto the floor. It should be a simple affair where this will just sit on top of a rectangle of foam that acts as the floor, but I made that central support too far down so it won't sit flush. The floor won't fit inside, so I'm going to have to cut some of it out. Hopefully that will be the last of me having to adjust this central support.
That's called foreshadowing.
So the floor itself is just going to be a rectangle of foam that fits snugly inside, and if anyone goes inside the building, I can lift the building away to reveal the floor underneath. I wanted a geometric pattern, so I found this sort of a Rivendell-esque geometric tile pattern. So I'm just going to transfer that to the foam. I've had a little border on the outside and then allow me to put an inch grid on the inside, so it's 4 squares by 2 squares. For the circle, I found this ink pot, which was perfect size for me to trace around to give me those 2 circles. You might have to use a compass for this if you don't have anything the exact size. Some of your model bases, some of your models might fit, so it's just a case of tracing around sort of this twice to get 2 circles. The rest of it I'm going to do freehand. This is a mistake. It wasn't as neat and tidy as the rest of it. I should have used the ink pot to do these sort of leaves, but it still looks okay. But if I do this again, I'd use the ink pot to do the other side. And when I'm done, this is what it will look like. The whole thing is just base coated in a sort of burnt umber brown, and the roof is then painted in a terracotta colour. I'm using a smaller brush here to make sure I get right into those points of the tiles to hide that blue card underneath. The sides of the walls are dry brushed using a snakebite lever to pick out that texture. Then the roof itself, I'm picking out a triangle in this vermin brown, and then channel favourite goblin green I'm going to do an arrow of. The beams, eaves and porch is painted in this Brinewood Brown by Reaper Paints, which I've recently reviewed on the channel. This is a lovely worn weathered brown colour. I really love it for this sort of look, this sort of beamwork. Once that's all done and dry, I come in with a black wash and cover the entire piece in it, the roof, the walls and the floor. And this is what it looks like at this stage. Now I come in with a beige colour and give it a dry brush in. This is Texture Matte from Reaper Bone. Once that's done, I can come in with this sort of camo shade and just add some weathering to the bottom where it would sit upon the floor. For the floor, I'm going to base coat it the same as before, use this vermin brown to pick out the circle pieces, then this sort of orc spear brown to pick out alternating sort of squares of it. It's a nice bright yellow, and then back to channel favourite goblin green to pick out the remaining pieces. The border itself is done using an alternating same terracotta I used on the roof and the same beige that I dry brushed the roof in. And that is the painting done. I'm going to be putting a sort of LED light central support again. So the LED light will go in sort of here, and if I turn it on and show you, so it'll go in here, so you'll be able to see it from this side, but because of that central part you can't see it from this side. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is carefully come in with a razor blade and cut like a section out, just leaving perhaps some supports on the roof. And once I've cleared that out, you should now be able to see the LED light from both sides. I'm going to use that LED light as our light, this sort of tea light thing. So the first thing to do is to remove the back and the battery. Keep the battery. Some of them, like this one, has a leg bent over, so the first thing you have to do is straighten that out and then pull the LED out from it, as well as removing the back LED light out. Unfortunately, my filming is not good here, so you can't see what I'm doing. Once you've got you will notice that one leg is longer than the other. This is which is minus a negative battery, just to see what's what. I am going to be using a switch to turn my LED on and off, so I'm going to pop the battery into the switch and then figure out what colour is positive, negative. On the legs, I'm going to trim those legs down, obviously keeping one slightly longer because I don't need them that long. And then over to soldering. I should get one, but these pliers will LED in place when I pre-tin the legs. I'll also pre-tin the connectors, and I'm going to slip some heat shrink onto them, which I haven't shown here. And once that's done, I can then solder the wires onto the legs. This went surprisingly well for me. If you watch any of my other soldering videos, you know I'm not good at it. So once that's done, I give it a quick tug test to make sure before sliding the heat shrink up to make sure there's no shorts. Also want to, at this stage, turn the LED light on and bend it over. And the reason why it's on is so I can make sure that I haven't broken the connection, as this is what's going to be glued into place. Once that's done, carefully use a lighter to shrink the heat shrink wrapping stuff, and that's it done. With that done, we can glue it into place. It's just going to be done using a hot glue gun, working out where I want, and this is why I bent it over just now, so it'll bend down. Use a big dollop of hot glue just placed there so I can hold it in place, and some other little dollops just to hold the wire in place. I need something to hold the battery component in place, and for that I'm going to use a cable tie. This is glued into place, but beforehand I need to cut it down a bit because I only need enough to wrap around the battery compartment. So this is simply done by cutting it with scissors, and then just putting a dab of glue into the roof, so the middle of the cable tie will sit into this, and this is what will hold the battery pack in place. So now I can turn it on, put it in place, wrap the cable tie around, the velcro cable tie around to hold it in place, and we can see the light both front and back. Especially if I turn off the filming light, you might be able to see it a bit better. But yeah, pleased with that. On to the fun stage, and this is where we get that real autumnal vibe. This is foliage. I'm going to apply some glue around various places on the sort of top part. I'm going to add some moss first of all. This is sort of a spring mix from Jarvis. It's a spring mix static grass from Jarvis Scenics, my go-to of choice. Once that is done, I'm going to come in with some more glue on the roof. and apply some leaf litter, some autumn leaf litter on the roof. This is where leaves have fallen down from the trees above and settled upon the roof. Then just around the bottom, I'm going to use some of my forest scatter mix that I made. I showed how to make on the channel, just to add some texture around the ground. And finally, we are going to come up with this coloured lichen, however you want to pronounce it. And I am just going to hot glue that into place. I find this is the best method, a few little dobs of hot glue. And I'm going to do 2 on each side of various different colours of this yellow, orange and red. So this autumnal bush. And with that, that makes this done. So before we take a look at it, I want to thank you guys for watching, for liking. Leave a comment. Remember, leave a comment if you see the fox in the reveal. I'm really pleased with this. I might make some more of these, sort of Rivendell type buildings. What would you like to see built next if it was a Rivendell sort of house building type thing? Let me know in the comments. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. Till the next one, stay safe, take care.